Good or great, it is up to you. Hey, I am Chuck the bureaucrat, and a long time ago, this mentor of mine gave me an article out of the Air War College on what makes a great colonel. Now, the interesting thing about this is he gave it to me about that point in my career where I was either a senior major or a very junior lieutenant colonel. Because that was the point in my career where I was learning that the Army wants you to be acting like a colonel as soon as you are able to. And so understanding what makes a great colonel is something you need to learn as early in your career as you can. Now, this paper is from an Air Force Major General Kane and a couple of co-authors. And essentially, what General Kane says is you can group colonels into good ones and great ones. And there's certain tangible attributes that great colonels have that distinguishes them from the merely good. Now, what I like about this is it sets up a basic framework that really anybody can use that tells you what your organization and leadership need. Now, before getting into the framework, General Kane makes a couple of points about great colonels. The first one is that their mere presence improves the efficiency and the performance of the organization. And the reason that their mere presence does this is because of the way they use this framework. And the second point he makes is greatness has nothing to do with seniority. It's about personal awareness, perspective, and judgment. This framework has 5 parts. Great colonels fill gaps, develop and endorse people, translate, build bridges, and close deals. The first thing that great colonels do is they fill gaps. And this starts by seeing the gaps. Whether it's processes or people or resources, they look around and see where there's a need. And what's important about this is they look in all directions. They look up, they look down, they look sideways. They're not just focused on satisfying their boss. Now, General Kane makes this point that great colonels do not say, "It's not my job." But I think that deserves a little bit of consideration. He's not saying that great colonels treat everything like it's their job. He's saying that when something isn't their job, they use the rest of the framework to make sure that the job still gets done. The next thing that great colonels do is they translate. And what General Kane means by this is they translate the words and guidance and needs of their bosses into actionable things that their staff can actually do. You've heard me say before how colonels or GS-15s are like an insulating layer between executives and the action officers. And that's exactly what he's talking about. Not only buffering the staff from the emotions or frustrations of the leadership, but also making sure that the leadership's vision gets turned into action. All of us have had the experience of being part of an organization or a mission that was just miserable, because things weren't going in the direction that the leadership wanted it to go. And the pivotal piece in this whole thing is that great colonel who's able to make that translation. The next piece in this framework is that great colonels develop and endorse people. You know, the developing piece is pretty straightforward. It's about getting people the training they need to be successful in the job that they have. It's about underwriting the mistakes that people are naturally going to make. And it's about absorbing the time and effort that gets lost while people are receiving this training. In fact, within the Pentagon, this really comes down to understanding the timing of the cycle so that you can get people that kind of training at a point when it has the least impact on the mission. The second piece of this is endorsing people to their superiors. And sure, an important part is making sure that the people who do the bulk of the work get the lion's share of the credit. I mean, by the time you make colonel, you really need to suppress your desire for personal accolades. But I'm going to take this one step further. When it comes to endorsing people, it also means making sure that they are ready to be seen by their superiors and that they have material that the superiors are going to value when they see it. Okay, so far what we've got is great colonels fill gaps, translate from above, endorse from below, and now they build bridges. And this goes beyond just building strong relationships up and down the organization's chain of command. It means reaching out laterally to build that network of relationships inside the organization and outside the organization, so when the time comes, they can generate the kind of synergy that's needed. The reason that network, those bridges, are so important is because at the crucial moment, what colonels are expected to do is build teams that are highly effective by bringing together people from all over who can achieve things that no individual could have done by themselves. Finally, great colonels close deals. And what General Kane means here is that they step in when the time is right and they shoulder the pressure to make sure that the win is secured. They do this by being devoid of emotion, by suppressing their own ego, and by working towards consensus. They completely and professionally staff a course of action inside their organization, outside their organization, up, down, so that they get the best final decision for leadership that's possible. I've found that this framework is just a fabulous place to start, understanding how to connect together the different people and pieces that make up this giant decision-making computer that is the Pentagon. And if you want to see more about this, try this playlist.